welcome back. Now let's finish our sheet here. We were just reconfirming D and E. So let's look at D. It looks like every 2 boxes it's crossing these hash marks. So it's rise 2, run 1, rise 2, run 1. So the slope of D is 2/1. Now let's look at E. So if we see E, it looks like we have a winner here. Fall 1, run 2, run 2. Notice these 2 slopes make the pattern we're looking for. One is the flipped upside down version, and one's positive and one's negative. Yes, perpendicular. Great job. All right, 3 more questions and we're done. So it says, write the equation for the lines parallel and perpendicular to the given line that passes through these points. Okay, this is going to take a little algebra, but let's see. I'm also going to make it a little simpler. I'm going to just do the parallel ones just to make the lesson a little bit easier. So if you did both, that's fine. But let's just do one. So we know parallel means that they have the same slope. So we're going to build an equation that looks like this. But if they have the same slope, we know that the slope has to be -4. So our new equation has to have the slope of -4. And now we wanted to go through this point. So that point is an x and a y coordinate. So what we're saying here is that we want, when x is 6 and y is -1, so when x is 6 and y is -1, that will be in our new line, okay? And this will help us solve for b. So let's plug that in. So let's plug in the coordinate. So when x is 6, we'll plug in 6, and y is -1, this will tell us what b is. Okay, so that's -24 plus b, add 24 on both sides, and we get 23. So b is 23. Now we can finish building our equation. So the equation we want to build is parallel, and we can substitute 20 in for b. So y is equal to the slope of -4x plus 23. Now you can double check this in Desmos.com. Really smart to do it. If you type this into Desmos and this is to Desmos, you will confirm that these 2 lines are parallel and that this new line goes through that point. Really cool tool. Okay, let's do another one. So the slope here, they got tricky. I can't tell what the slope is. So I got to do a little algebra. So I'm going to add 2y on both sides. So I get 3x equals -8 plus 2y. I'm going to add 8 on both sides. So I get 3x plus 8 equals 2y. A lot of work here. And I'm going to divide by 2 so that y is by itself on one side. And that's how I'll find out what the slope is. So it looks like I'm pretty close here. Y is by itself on this side. And it looks like the slope is 3/2. Cool. Okay, so y is equal to 3/2 x plus, that would turn into 4, equals y. So this is my line, and I haven't drawn a new line. This is just another way to write that same line. Again, if you go to Desmos, type this in and type this in, you will get a line that plots right on top of itself. So now we have our slope, and we've been asked to write a new line. So our new line, y equals mx plus b, we know has a slope of 3/2. So that it's parallel, okay? And we don't know what b is. To make it a new line, we'd have to shift it up or down on the vertical y-axis, and we don't know where to put it. But we know we need to put it where it would cross that point. So let's plug this and this in for x and y and figure out what b is. Okay, so when x is -1, so I'll put a -1 where the x is, and when x is -1, y has to be 1. Okay, plus b. So that'd be -3/2 plus b. Now, most students don't like that 2 down there. So my suggestion would be to multiply each term on the left and each term on the right by 2. That'll help, okay? So I multiplied 2 times 1, this is 2. 2, 2 times 3 divided by 2 will be negative 3 plus 2b. Okay. Now let's keep going. If I add 3 to both sides, I get 5 is equal to 2b. Ooh, almost done. If I divide by 2 on both sides, b is equal to 5 halves. So I've done it. I have my equation, and in order for it to have the same slope, 3 halves, and go through that point, I need b to be 5 halves. So I can plug that back in right up here. Y is equal to 3 halves x plus 5 halves. Nice job. One more. Ooh, this is a different way to look at it. I wonder what the slope is. So some people might think, okay, maybe that's the slope, but let's go ahead and get rid of parentheses by distributing. Okay, so y minus 2 is equal to 1/2 x, and then you have 1/2 times 2. So 1/2 times 2 is just 1. Okay. So it looks like if I add 2 on both sides, I'm almost got it in the form that I need. Cool. Okay, so 3. So this is useful. The original equation I have, if you go to Desmos and type that in, it has a slope of 1/2. So I've been asked to make a new equation, y equals mx plus b, matching that same slope because it's parallel. Okay. So I'm going to borrow that, but I don't know where the intercept is, but it has to go through this point, 1, -1. So I'm going to plug in when x is 1, so where I see the x, I plug in 1. And when y is -1, right? And the same thing happened. I don't like this 2 down here. So my suggestion is multiply every term by a 2 so that the 2 on the bottom would cancel. So on the left here, we have 2 times the -1, which should be -2. Here we have 2 times 1/2, which is just 1, times another 1, which is 1, plus a 2b. Okay, almost done. And if I subtract 1 on both sides, I get -3 is equal to 2b. So it looks like, once again, if we divide by 2, our b would be equal to -3 halves. Interesting. So we can finish our equation off. Y is equal to 1/2, our slope is 1/2, times x minus 3 halves, because that's our b. Don't forget, type this into Desmos and this into Desmos, and notice the 2 are parallel, and in fact, this new equation goes through this point. It's very, very cool. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day.